Hello. Nice to meet you.
Hi, I'm Dr. T. If you can
Nice
just
to meet you.
sit down.
Thank you.
Okay.
I appreciate it.
All
Oh,
right.
man.
So I know that coming here at 4:30 in the afternoon could have been quite strenuous with the traffic.
Well, yeah, I mean, any airport, you're going to have a lot of traffic coming in and out, so,
Yeah.
but I made it here. That's all that matters.
Well, I'm glad that you're here, and I'm glad that you found our suite because sometimes people they get lost because there's a plaza on the side. But anyway. So, I know that there's some great things about you, and today I'm looking forward to together kind of going through this journey and trying to help you out with a situation that you might be experiencing that actually brought you here.
Yeah, well, to be honest with you, I didn't think I would find myself in a counseling situation, I guess you could say. My wife sort of put me up to it as she's noticed I guess I've noticed as well, some higher levels of stress,
Okay.
specifically feelings of anxiety
Okay.
and stress that I've never noticed in my life,
Okay.
and I didn't really see it as a big issue. But like I said, my wife, she's kind of pushed me to come to counseling,
Okay.
and yeah, I guess I'm looking for some help in that regard to try and figure out where this is coming from because I've never felt it.
Okay. So the significant words that I've heard thus far is stress and anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Are there specific times that you're feeling this stress?
So, yeah, I'd say there's actually one very specific time. It's before I get on my flights. I'm a pilot. I've been
Okay.
flying for quite a while,
Okay.
and I've been
Do
taking.
you travel a lot?
Oh well, part of the job is going from one place to another, but
Okay.
typically I stay within the country, so
Okay.
not really going outside of the country, but we do tend to get around.
Okay.
We were just in Chicago, and I'm
Okay.
off to California in the next few hours
Okay.
after this meeting.
Okay.
But either way, I've been having that same feeling regardless of where I'm going just before my flights. I'm about to fly. I've done this for 30 years, and I've never felt a level of anxiety like this. But I don't see it as affecting myself once I'm on the plane. Maybe I'm a little more tired once I get off, but it's just beforehand I get these weird feelings like my hands are getting clammy and I have this need to pace around the terminal, and
Okay.
I'm just finding it difficult to, I guess, be as calm as I used to be.
Okay. What I'm actually hearing is that your job is pretty demanding. Am I correct? What you say that is pretty
Well, yeah,
demanding?
for 15 years I had the same schedule of 50-hour work weeks. I recently took on some extra time, but it was in order to fill out some certifications that I felt like I needed to do.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I mean, I've never really had an issue with the workload before.
Okay. So, looking at the years that you've actually put into the profession, do you believe that it has impacted other parts of your life? Anything that that you might have felt as if the demand or the requirement of your job has actually had conflict with or challenged that part of your life?
I'd say that the stress relating to the job that I've felt recently
Okay.
probably mostly has affected my sleep.
Okay.
I haven't been able to sleep very well, and I haven't changed anything else.
Okay.
I typically do the same thing every night. I get out of my flights, I'll go to the bar, I'll have a few drinks, and then I go home. I'll put the TV on and watch something that I enjoy, or I'll read a book, or one of the two. Spend time with family if they're awake, and yeah, I've just never changed my schedule. So
Okay.
like I said, this is the first time that I've felt something out of the norm from that sense of normalcy.
So, what I'm hearing is that you're used to repetition.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything in your repetition that you have increased or decreased, even though you've done it over and over again, is there anything that you've increased or decreased? Because what you mentioned before is lack of sleep, right? A lack of sleep.
Well, I
Could it
took
be?
on 10 extra hours from work, so
Oh,
I mean, I am sleeping less hours in general, but it's,
okay.
the quality of sleep. I just don't understand why it's so poor.
Okay. So I'm hearing that normally you would do 50 hours. You took on 10 as of when? When did you take
About
on the additional 10?
6 to 8 months ago, I'd say.
6 to 8 months ago. So almost a year.
Yeah.
Okay. When would you say that the stress, this anxiety that you started feeling, when did you start to feel that?
Now that you say that, they sort of they sort of happened at the same time.
Okay.
But I'd say probably 4 months to 5 months rather than 5 to 8. The I felt when I took the first few shifts of the new schedule, like it didn't bother me too much.
Okay. And what it seems to me in regards to your repetition, right? Because sometimes what can happen when we do things over and over again, it becomes our norm. However, it can be different to our bodies. Our minds, it can be one thing, but to our bodies, it can be something else that causes it. Not to say that that is necessarily what your issue is. So I want to dive more into that. And so the 6 to 8 months that you started with the additional 10 hours, you've noticed the stress, the anxiety. Is there anything else that you've noticed, even in your repetition, that you do on a nightly basis? Anything that you've noticed that has increased or decreased?
Some nights I'm too tired to go to the bar, and
Okay.
you know, I do like to drink. Like anybody else, I'll get off my flight and have 6 or 7 drinks or something like
Mm,
that, and get in a cab and go home. I mean,
okay.
I've done that since I was in college. So, like I keep telling you, I'm a creature of habit. I kind of
Okay.
don't like to change my schedule.
And you definitely are. And I'm glad that you are quite responsible with taking a taxi home.
Oh yeah,
And I and
who
and
could
that's really
who
good.
could get home like that?
Yeah, and you are absolutely correct. You're absolutely correct. So, do you find that you sleep better at night or not so good with the 6 to 7 drinks that you have?
Usually, I don't really remember my nights much after a certain point,
Okay.
but I don't know. I
Okay.
guess I'm more irritable between visits and things like that.
Okay.
But I'm not an alcoholic like my father.
Okay. All right. So, let's kind of dive into that. And so we spoke about the repetition. Were looking at possibilities of sleep being one
Hmm.
of those factors that might be causing the stress or anxiety. But let's also look into maybe the repetition that actually comes from maybe some things that might be in your family.
Okay.
Okay, and as far as with your father, let's talk a little bit about your father.
I mean, not much of a guy to talk about,
Okay.
other than the fact that he was a nasty alcoholic and he was
Mm,
nasty to me. He was nasty to
okay.
my mother too.
Okay.
Um, but like I said, I'm nothing like him.
Okay. So the way that he was nasty to you and nasty to mom, what do you think that came from? If you had to think about some of the actions that perhaps you saw within your family, what do you think that actually came from in him treating you all nasty in the way that you received it? What would you say?
Well, he just always seemed to act like he was getting put on the bad side of something by somebody else. He never took, responsibility for his own ways and being him. Always blaming someone else, whether it was my mother or me and the other, siblings.
Mm-hmm.
there was never a moment where he took responsibility, and I couldn't understand why he was like that. And then when he would drink, he would get so angry,
Mm-hmm.
and there wasn't really much I could do as a kid.
Okay.
But all I have done in my life is make sure I'm nothing like him. I've just
Okay.
done everything I can to make sure I'm nothing like my father.
So that must have been a huge responsibility to try to make sure that you're not like dad. So tell me the ways that you see yourself as not being your dad.
Well, I worked damn hard for my career,
Okay.
and he never seemed to care about anything. No matter how hard we were struggling, he never strived to do anything better than what he did. He was always constantly struggling and never making any kind of effort to improve himself, and I just couldn't understand it.
Okay. And so, kind of thinking that maybe the excessiveness that you work and the pressure that you're putting on yourself, would you say that it might be you trying really, really, really hard to not be like dad, which might then be creating this stress on yourself? Would you say that if you had to think about that?
Well, I guess you're right in a way that, yeah, I do a lot of the things I do because I don't want to be like my father.
Okay.
But I don't know. I haven't had to deal with this kind of stress
Yeah.
for, the whole time.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess you have a point that I am doing a lot of this because I don't want to be like my father.
Yeah.
And a lot of the good that I've had happen, I guess, comes from him too.
Okay.
As far as like that want to not be like him.
Okay.
That's so confusing to me though.
Yeah. And I can understand how that can be confusing to you.
It almost makes me angry.
Yeah. And yeah, I can understand that. So going back to dad and the feeling that he would give your family, right? So you spoke about how he was nasty to mom.
He was a deadbeat.
And he was nasty to you.
Mm-hmm.
So if you had to go back to a feeling, let's say going back to 15-year-old Charles, right? I'm just going to put an age out there. Interaction with dad or feeling about dad when he walked into the house and he was being nasty to everyone. Can you describe maybe that feeling that was there at that moment?
Disappointed.
So disappointed, okay, and why disappointed?
Because I could see that there was so much he could do that he just didn't.
Okay, what do you believe that dad could have done? What more do you think he could have done?
Stop being so lazy and try and do something for himself. He never did anything. He would pick a job for a few months or stay within one company for years and accept no sort of outside help from anybody as far as like trying to find a new job or anything. Too prideful of himself. I just don't understand how someone could have a family and have someone that they're taking care of, like a son, that they just can't get off their lazy butt. It just didn't make no sense to me.
And do you believe that some of the nastiness came from drinking? Do you think that it was that, or maybe not? What do you think? How did you receive that?
Well, I had a mixed relationship with his drinking. Sometimes it would make him so angry and irate that he would be abusive, and sometimes he would be so much in a stupor that he was as good as the chair he was sitting in.
And that must have been really, really hard for you to see and to experience.
It made me never want to be like him again.
Yeah.
Or like him ever.
Okay. And again, that huge responsibility that you put on yourself, there's a possibility, and we can explore that even more as we move forward, that your pretty much your commitment to not be like him might actually be the stressor in your life. It's a possibility. And I would really love to tap more into that because of the fact that I believe you deserve to be without your stress, being able to sleep, because I know that for me, it appears that the lack of sleep may come from the overworking,
Mm.
but that might not be so. But I know only with time can we dive into that. But in the meantime, I think it would be great if we set up something further so that we can move into a better resolution for you. But I want to give you some homework. I want to give you some homework that I know with your job. I know that you've taken on the 10 extra hours. Is that something that you have to do? Are you locked into it?
Um, I could ask to do it at another time. There's sort of seasons where the training's available.
Okay. So if it's something that you're required to do now in regards to the 10 extra hours, I'm going to give you homework that maybe that repetition that you have, to slow down just a little bit less. Maybe let's see how your sleeping pattern changes if having maybe 3 drinks instead of the 7. And let's just see if it changes, because I want to see if taking some things away, even though we have that repetition which you are accustomed to, if possibly your sleep will increase. Because I know that there's a lot of different factors that we've actually spoken about. I want to dive into more of that. And also just talking a little bit more about your relationship with your dad, because he's quite significant in regards to who it is that you are, you deem to be, and who it is that you will, and that who you are to your family. Okay, whether it being the same or the opposite of him. Okay, does that sound good?
I think I'd like to do that.
Okay, well, I appreciate you being open to that. All right,
Thank
so
you,
we'll make
doctor.
an appointment. Okay, and I look forward to us meeting soon.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me.
You're welcome.
Thank you.